The night everything changed. What happens when a simple hotel cleaner becomes the center of a billionaire's world in just one night? Can true love really conquer the deepest social divides? Or was Emma Rodriguez about to discover that fairy tales only exist in storybooks? Tonight would answer questions she never dared to ask, and change her life in ways she never imagined possible. Have you ever wondered what it feels like to be completely invisible in a room full of people? Emma Rodriguez knew that feeling intimately as she adjusted the collar of her crisp white uniform, wheeling her cleaning cart through the marble corridors of the Grand Palace Hotel. At 26, she had perfected the art of moving through the world of the wealthy like a ghost, unseen and unnoticed. But what if tonight, everything would change? What if the very people who treated her like furniture were about to witness something that would shake their privileged world to its core? The Imperial Ballroom had been transformed into something from a dream. Crystal chandeliers worth more than Emma's annual salary cast dancing rainbows across polished marble floors, while elegantly dressed guests glided beneath towering arrangements of white orchids and golden roses. Emma had never witnessed such opulence, having grown up in a modest apartment with her ailing grandmother, Catalina, after losing her parents in a tragic accident when she was just 12 years old. But why had fate brought her here tonight? Was it mere coincidence? Or was the universe preparing to test everything she believed about her place in the world? "Emma, I need your help," called Robert Martinez, the hotel's head of security. The kind-hearted man in his 50s had always treated the cleaning staff with genuine respect, unlike some of the management. The coat check attendant called in sick, and we're understaffed. "Can you handle the coat check area? It comes with excellent overtime pay." Emma nodded eagerly, knowing the extra money would help cover her grandmother's expensive heart medication. "Of course, Mr. Martinez. I won't let you down. I know you won't. You're one of our most reliable workers." He handed her a temporary name badge reading Emma Guest Services. "Just smile, be polite, and remember these people tip generously when treated with respect." Little did Emma know that this simple assignment would place her directly in the path of destiny. As she took her position near the ballroom entrance, watching the city's elite arrive in their designer gowns and custom tuxedos, could she have imagined that among these glittering guests walked a man who would soon turn her entire world upside down? Women floated past in gowns that cost more than Emma earned in 6 months, their jewelry sparkling like captured starlight. Men wore watches that gleamed like small suns on their wrists, discussing business deals worth millions as casually as others might discuss the weather. Emma had borrowed a simple black dress from her neighbor for the evening, and though it was clean and pressed, she felt painfully ordinary among such magnificence. The evening progressed smoothly as Emma efficiently organized the expensive coats and wraps. Most guests barely acknowledged her presence, treating her as part of the hotel's elegant furniture. She didn't mind, or so she told herself. She was used to being overlooked in the world of the wealthy, but was she truly prepared for what was about to unfold? Around 9 o'clock, disaster struck like lightning on a clear night. A group of impeccably dressed women approached the coat check area, led by Cassandra Whitmore, a platinum blonde socialite in her early 30s, known throughout the city for her razor-sharp tongue and merciless sense of superiority. Cassandra wore a stunning sapphire gown that hugged her figure perfectly, with diamonds that sparkled at her throat like captured ice. "Oh my goodness. Ladies, look at this," Cassandra announced loudly, her voice carrying across the marble foyer as she pointed directly at Emma. "They actually put the cleaning girl at coat check. This is supposed to be a sophisticated charity event, not a community service project." Could Emma have predicted that this moment of cruelty would set in motion events that would change not just her life, but challenge everything these wealthy women believed about power, status, and worth? The other women joined Cassandra's laughter, their voices creating a symphony of mockery that made nearby guests turn to observe the spectacle. Emma felt heat rise to her cheeks as she tried to maintain her composure, focusing on hanging up a fur coat with hands that had begun to tremble. "I mean, seriously," Cassandra continued, her voice growing louder as more guests stopped their conversations to watch. "Look at that dress. Did she find it at a thrift store clearance sale? And those shoes look like they belong in a museum." added another woman with a malicious smile. Maybe she's here to mop up after us. That would make more sense than putting her in guest services. Just as Emma felt tears beginning to form in her eyes, wishing the marble floor would open and swallow her whole, something extraordinary happened. A deep, authoritative voice cut through the laughter like a sword through silk. "Excuse me, ladies. Is there a problem here?" Emma looked up to see a tall, commanding figure in an immaculately tailored black tuxedo approaching the group. He appeared to be in his mid-30s, with dark hair, piercing steel-gray eyes, and the kind of presence that made everyone in the vicinity instinctively pay attention. Even from a distance, Emma could sense this was someone of immense importance. The way other guests stepped aside as he approached spoke volumes about his status. But who was this mysterious man? And why was he involving himself in her humiliation? Could Emma have imagined that the stranger was about to speak words that would echo through her life forever? Cassandra's entire demeanor transformed instantly. Her cruel smile melted into a sweet, artificial expression as she recognized the newcomer. Nathaniel Stone. "What a delightful surprise," she gushed, her voice suddenly dripping with honey. "We were just having a discussion about service standards." Emma's heart nearly stopped beating. Nathaniel Stone was one of the most powerful men in the country. At 34, he had built a technology empire worth billions, and was regularly featured on magazine covers as one of the nation's most eligible bachelors. What was someone of his stature doing here? And more importantly, why was he inserting himself into her moment of deepest shame? His icy gray gaze swept over the group of women before settling on Emma. For a moment that seemed to last an eternity, their eyes met, and Emma felt something electric pass between them. His expression softened almost imperceptibly as he took in her embarrassed state, and the tears she was desperately trying to hold back. What thoughts were racing through his mind in that crucial moment? Was he simply a good man who couldn't stand to watch cruelty unfold, or was there something deeper at work, something that would soon bind their fates together in ways neither could imagine? "I see," Nathaniel said, his voice remaining calm but carrying an undertone that made everyone within earshot pay attention. "And what exactly about the service standards required such public commentary?" The ballroom had grown noticeably quieter as word of the confrontation spread. But what happened next would change everything, setting in motion a chain of events that would transform a humble hotel worker into the wife of one of America's most powerful men. The question hanging in the air was no longer about service standards. It was about human dignity, true worth, and whether love could really bloom in the most impossible circumstances. What would Nathaniel Stone do next? And how would this night of humiliation become the first chapter of the greatest love story Emma had ever dared to dream? The proposal that changed everything, called a simple lunch invitation from a billionaire, really transformed someone's entire existence. 3 days after the charity gala, Emma Rodriguez was about to discover that sometimes the most unbelievable opportunities come wrapped in the most unexpected packages. Emma could barely focus on her regular cleaning duties at the Grand Palace Hotel. She kept replaying the events from the gala, wondering if she had somehow imagined Nathaniel Stone's dramatic intervention. Had it really happened? Or was it just a beautiful dream conjured by her desperate mind? Her small studio apartment in Brooklyn felt even smaller after experiencing the grandeur of the hotel ballroom. But the generous tips from that evening would help cover her grandmother's medication for another month, and that made everything worthwhile. Still, questions plagued her thoughts. Why had someone so powerful stepped in to defend her? What did it mean? And would she ever see him again? Catalina Rodriguez, Emma's 74-year-old grandmother, noticed her granddaughter's distracted state over their simple breakfast of coffee and toast. The elderly woman had raised Emma since she was 12, working multiple jobs until her heart condition began worsening 3 years ago. "Mija, you look like you've seen a miracle," Catalina observed, setting down her coffee cup with slightly shaking hands. Her condition had been getting progressively worse, and the medication costs continued to strain their already tight budget. Something incredible happened at work. "Abuela," Emma said, still struggling to process it herself. "A very powerful man defended me when some wealthy women were being cruel. Then he gave me his business card." Catalina's weathered face brightened with interest. A good man who stands up for others is precious. Mija. What's his name? Nathaniel Stone. Catalina nearly choked on her coffee. Even she recognized that name from television news. The billionaire? Emma, are you certain? Emma nodded, showing her grandmother the elegant business card with its thick paper and embossed lettering. The weight of it alone spoke of wealth and importance beyond anything she had ever held. Be careful, Mija, Catalina warned gently, though her eyes sparkled with curiosity. Very rich men sometimes have complicated reasons for their kindness. Could her grandmother's warning prove prophetic? Was Emma about to discover that fairy tale rescues sometimes come with prices she never imagined? 2 days later, Emma's phone rang while she was scrubbing bathroom tiles at the hotel. The caller ID showed a number she didn't recognize, but something compelled her to answer despite being at work. Miss Rodriguez? This is Jennifer Walsh, assistant to Nathaniel Stone. Mr. Stone would like to invite you to lunch tomorrow at Meridian Restaurant on 5th Avenue. Would 1 o'clock work for you? Emma's heart raced. She had been wondering if Nathaniel would actually contact her, and part of her had assumed the business card was just a polite gesture with no real intention behind it. Yes, that would be perfect, Emma managed to say, her voice barely steady. Excellent. Mr. Stone is looking forward to speaking with you, but what could a billionaire possibly want to discuss with the hotel cleaner? Was Emma about to step into a world she couldn't imagine? Or was she walking into something too good to be true? The following afternoon, Emma arrived at Meridian Restaurant 15 minutes early. She had chosen her best outfit, a simple navy dress and cardigan, and had spent extra time on her appearance. The restaurant was elegant, but not intimidating. With warm lighting and comfortable leather seating, Nathaniel was already seated at a corner table, dressed casually in dark jeans and a crisp white shirt that probably cost more than Emma's monthly rent. He stood when he saw her approaching, a gesture of respect that surprised and touched her. Emma, thank you for coming, he said, pulling out her chair. I wasn't entirely sure you would accept the invitation. Thank you for inviting me, she replied, accepting the seat. Though I'm still not sure why someone like you would want to have lunch with someone like me. Nathaniel signaled the waiter before answering. Someone like you? You mean someone genuine, hardworking, and kind? Those qualities are much rarer than you might think in my world. They ordered. Emma chose a simple salad while Nathaniel requested the grilled salmon. She found herself studying his face in the afternoon light streaming through the restaurant windows. He looked younger and less intimidating than he had at the gala, with laugh lines around his eyes that suggested he wasn't always as serious as his public image implied. But what was he really thinking? Why had he brought her here? Emma, I'm going to be completely honest with you because I believe transparency is essential. Nathaniel began once their meals arrived. I need your help with something unusual, and in return, I can offer you an opportunity that could transform your life. Emma felt her stomach flutter with nervousness. What kind of help? Nathaniel leaned forward slightly, lowering his voice despite the restaurant's ambient noise. I need a wife. Not for love or romance, but for business purposes. My grandfather left a provision in his will that requires me to be married before my 35th birthday to inherit his controlling stake in Stone Industries. I have exactly 4 months left. Emma nearly dropped her fork. The words hit her like a physical blow. I'm sorry, what? I know it sounds completely insane, Nathaniel continued calmly. But I'm proposing a business arrangement, a marriage contract for 18 months. You would receive $300,000 upfront, plus all living expenses, healthcare for both you and your grandmother, and another $300,000 when we divorce after the inheritance is secured. The numbers swirled in Emma's head like leaves in a hurricane. $600,000. It was more money than she could earn in 20 lifetimes working cleaning jobs. Why me? She managed to ask. You could marry anyone. There must be dozens of women in your social circle who would accept immediately. Nathaniel's expression grew thoughtful. That's exactly the problem. Women in my social circle would expect a real marriage. They'd want love, attention, a genuine future together. I can't provide those things. I'm completely dedicated to my work, always have been. This arrangement would be honest from the beginning. a mutually beneficial contract with no false expectations. He paused, studying her reaction carefully. Also, after watching how you handled yourself at the gala, I know you have integrity. You won't try to manipulate the situation or demand more than we initially agree upon. You need the money for legitimate, honorable reasons, not luxury shopping or social climbing. Was this really happening? Was a billionaire seriously proposing a marriage of convenience to a hotel cleaner? Emma's mind raced. How do you know I need money? I had my assistant conduct some research, Nathaniel admitted without apology. I know about your grandmother's medical expenses, your multiple jobs, your application to nursing school that you can't afford to pursue. I'm not trying to exploit your situation, Emma. I'm trying to offer you a genuine way out of it. Nathaniel reached into his jacket and extracted a manila folder. I had my lawyers prepare a preliminary contract. No romantic obligations beyond maintaining the appearance of marriage in public settings. Separate bedrooms, separate personal lives. You'd need to attend social events with me when necessary, perhaps once or twice monthly. The rest of your time would be completely your own to pursue education, spend time with your grandmother, whatever brings you happiness. Emma opened the folder with trembling fingers. The legal language was complex and intimidating, but the financial terms were crystal clear and incredibly generous. Healthcare coverage for both her and Catalina, occasional expenses fully covered, and a monthly allowance that exceeded her current annual income. This is overwhelming, she admitted, closing the folder carefully. Of course, it is. Can you give me your answer by Monday? The legal processes are time-consuming, and my birthday deadline is firm. Nathaniel reached across the table and gently touched her hand. The contact sent an unexpected surge of electricity up Emma's arm, making her wonder if this purely business arrangement might become more complicated than either of them anticipated. Emma, I know this is unconventional, but sometimes unconventional solutions are the only ones that work. You'd be helping me secure my company's future, and I'd be helping you secure yours and your grandmother's well-being. That evening, Emma sat with Catalina in their tiny living room, explaining the incredible and surreal offer. Her grandmother listened without interruption, her experienced eyes growing more thoughtful as the story unfolded. Mija, this man is offering you everything we've ever prayed for, Catalina said finally. But marriage is sacred. Even a business marriage changes you. Are you prepared for that transformation? Emma had been wrestling with the exact same question all afternoon. I honestly don't know, Abuela. It would solve every single one of our problems. You could receive the best medical care available. I could attend school without working 3 exhausting jobs. But what happens if I develop real feelings for him? What if he never sees me as anything more than a very well-paid employee? Catalina took her granddaughter's hands in her own weathered ones. Love is always a risk, Mija, whether it comes with a legal contract or not. The real question is, do you trust this man to treat you with genuine respect and kindness, even if he can never love you? Emma thought about how Nathaniel had defended her at the gala, how he had been completely honest about his motivations, and how he had treated her with more authentic respect into conversations than many people showed her in months of daily interaction. I think I do trust him, she said, slowly. Then perhaps you should take this leap of faith. Life rarely offers second chances like this one, but could Emma have predicted what this decision would truly cost her heart? And was she prepared to discover that sometimes the most carefully planned business arrangements can become the most beautifully unexpected love stories? Monday morning would bring her answer, and with it, a transformation that would change not just her circumstances, but her very identity. The question was, would Emma Rodriguez have the courage to become someone she never imagined she could be? The triumph of true love. What happens when a carefully orchestrated business arrangement collides head-on with genuine emotion? 6 weeks after accepting Nathaniel's proposal, Emma was about to discover that the heart doesn't always follow the contracts we make with our minds. The transformation had been nothing short of miraculous. Emma now lived in Nathaniel's stunning penthouse apartment, with floor-to-ceiling windows offering breathtaking views of the city skyline. Professional stylists had refined her appearance. Etiquette coaches had taught her to navigate high society, and the finest designers had created a wardrobe worthy of a billionaire's wife. But the most unexpected change wasn't external, it was the way her heart had begun to race every time Nathaniel entered a room. Their evening conversations over dinner had gradually become the highlight of Emma's days. She discovered that beneath his serious public persona, Nathaniel possessed a sharp wit, surprising vulnerability, and genuine kindness that made her fall a little deeper in love with him each day. The problem was their contract explicitly stated this was purely business, and she had no idea if he felt anything beyond professional obligation toward her. Could she have imagined that tonight, their wedding reception, would force them both to confront feelings they had been carefully avoiding? Emma stood in the bridal suite of the exclusive Riverside Country Club, wearing a stunning ivory silk gown that had graced the cover of 3 fashion magazines. The elegant dress perfectly complemented her natural beauty, and professional stylists had transformed her into someone worthy of fairy tales. The civil ceremony that morning had been intimate and beautiful, attended only by Catalina, Jennifer, and a few of Nathaniel's closest business associates. But tonight's reception would be Emma's true debut into high society, with over 400 guests eager to meet the mysterious woman who had supposedly captured Nathaniel Stone's heart. "You look absolutely radiant, Mrs. Stone," said Margaret Chen, the etiquette coach Nathaniel had hired to prepare Emma for navigating the complex world of elite social circles. The refined woman had spent 6 intensive weeks teaching Emma everything from proper posture to sophisticated conversation techniques. "I still can't believe this is actually happening," Emma admitted, smoothing the luxurious silk fabric nervously. "What if someone realizes I don't truly belong in this world?" "You belong wherever you choose to be, Emma," Nathaniel said from the doorway, looking devastatingly handsome in his perfectly tailored black tuxedo. For the past weeks, Emma had begun to genuinely appreciate his quiet strength, sharp intelligence, and surprisingly dry sense of humor. More troubling, she had started noticing the way his eyes crinkled when he smiled, how he always held doors for her, and the gentle way he spoke to elderly waiters and hotel staff. "Are you ready to face our audience, Mrs. Stone?" Nathaniel asked, offering his arm with a warm smile that made Emma's heart flutter in ways that had nothing to do with their business arrangement. The reception was in magnificent swing. When Emma and Nathaniel made their grand entrance as husband and wife, photographer flashes sparkled like fireworks as they posed for pictures, Nathaniel's arm possessively around Emma's waist. To every observer, they appeared to be a couple deeply and genuinely in love. But would their carefully maintained facade survive the night's challenges? "Nathaniel, darling," the familiar voice cut through the elegant crowd like a blade. Cassandra Whitmore approached them, resplendent in a designer emerald gown, her expression a carefully crafted mixture of surprise and barely concealed fury. "You simply must introduce me to your lovely new bride," Cassandra continued, her voice dripping with false sweetness while her eyes burned with unmistakable hatred. "Cassandra, I'd like you to meet my wife, Emma," Nathaniel said smoothly, his arm tightening protectively around Emma's waist. "Emma, Cassandra Whitmore is a prominent figure in New York's social scene." Cassandra's assessment of Emma was swift, calculating, and filled with malicious intent. "What an absolutely lovely dress, darling. Valentino, isn't it? You certainly have exquisite taste for someone so young." Emma had learned during her etiquette training that Valentino was one of the world's most prestigious fashion designers, but she simply smiled graciously instead of revealing her newfound knowledge. "Thank you, Cassandra. Nathaniel has wonderful taste in everything." Cassandra's perfectly sculpted smile faltered slightly at Emma's confident response. This was clearly not the frightened, easily intimidated cleaning lady she remembered humiliating at the charity gala. "How absolutely romantic that you two found each other at my favorite charity event," Cassandra continued, her tone growing sharper, "though I must admit, I don't recall seeing you there before that particular evening." "Emma, do you attend many charity functions?" The question was clearly designed to expose Emma's humble background and make her feel out of place among the sophisticated guests. However, Emma had prepared for exactly this type of social warfare. Actually, that was my first major charity gala, Emma replied honestly, her voice steady and confident. Nathaniel taught me that everyone deserves a chance to contribute to causes bigger than themselves, regardless of their background. It's become one of my greatest passions. Nathaniel looked down at Emma with genuine admiration and something that looked remarkably like pride. My wife has a natural gift for understanding what truly matters in life, he said, his voice carrying unmistakable warmth. But Cassandra wasn't finished. Her mask of politeness finally slipped completely. How wonderfully touching. Though I suppose some people are simply born knowing their proper place in society. The subtle insult hung in the air like poison. Before Emma could respond, Nathaniel stepped forward, his voice carrying the unmistakable authority that had built his billion-dollar empire. You're absolutely right, Cassandra. Some people are born understanding their place. Emma was born understanding that a person's worth comes from their character, kindness, and integrity. Others seem to believe their worth comes from inherited money, cruel gossip, and tearing down people who threaten their fragile sense of superiority. I think we all know which type of person makes the world a better place. The nearby guests had grown quiet, sensing the tension unfolding before them. Cassandra's face flushed red with embarrassment and rage. Now, if you'll excuse us, Nathaniel continued smoothly, my wife and I have many genuine friends to greet this evening. As they walked away, Nathaniel leaned down to whisper in Emma's ear, you were absolutely perfect. I'm genuinely proud of you. Emma felt her heart soar at his words. Somewhere during their weeks of preparation and evening conversations, their business arrangement had quietly transformed into something much deeper and more meaningful. But the night's biggest surprise was yet to come. Later that evening, as the last guests departed, and they stood alone on the terrace overlooking the moonlit gardens, Nathaniel took Emma's hands in his. The city sparkled below them like a carpet of stars, and the warm spring air carried the scent of jasmine from the gardens. Emma, I need to tell you something important, he said, his usual composure replaced by something raw and vulnerable. This started as a business arrangement, but somewhere along the way, I fell completely in love with my wife. I know that wasn't part of our original contract, but I couldn't let another day pass without telling you the truth. Emma felt tears of pure joy fill her eyes. Nathaniel, I was terrified you'd never see me as anything more than a very well-paid employee. I've been in love with you for weeks. Maybe from that very first night when you defended me. I think I fell for you the moment I saw you trying to maintain your dignity while those women were being cruel, Nathaniel admitted. Your strength, your grace under pressure, the way you refused to let them break your spirit, I'd never met anyone like you. As Nathaniel pulled her into his arms for their first real kiss as a genuinely married couple, Emma realized that sometimes the most unexpected encounters truly can lead to the most extraordinary possibilities. The frightened cleaning lady who had been mocked and ridiculed had not only found her prince, but had discovered that she was strong enough to become a queen in her own right. Their love story had begun with a contract, but it would continue with something far more powerful to hearts that had found their perfect match in the most improbable circumstances. 6 months later, Emma stood in the same imperial ballroom where her journey had begun, but this time as the guest of honor at a charity fundraiser she had organized for families struggling with medical expenses. Wearing a stunning gown and radiating confidence, she was no longer the invisible cleaning lady, but a philanthropist making a real difference in people's lives. Nathaniel watched from across the room as his wife spoke passionately about helping others, and he knew he had found something more valuable than any business deal or inheritance. He had found a partner who made him want to be a better man. As Emma concluded her speech to thunderous applause, Nathaniel approached and took her hand, just as he had that first night. But this time, when he said, "My wife," it wasn't for show or for contracts. It was because she truly was his heart, soul, and future. And Emma Rodriguez Stone had learned the most important lesson of all. Sometimes the most beautiful love stories begin with the courage to believe you deserve better than the hand life has dealt you. Sometimes, fairy tales do come true, but only for those brave enough to reach for them. What had started with cruel laughter had transformed into triumphant love, proving that genuine worth isn't measured by bank accounts or social status. but by the content of one's character and the capacity of one's heart. The cleaning lady had become a queen, but more importantly, she had remained exactly who she always was inside, a woman of dignity, kindness, and unshakable strength. And that, perhaps, was the most beautiful transformation of all.